To see someone's true character, pay attention to how they treat people they don't need, and how they behave when they finally have power. Everything else is a performance. We live in a world of curated personas, rehearsed politeness, social masks, and transactional behavior. People show you what they think you want to see, what benefits them, and what keeps the peace. But the real personality, the unfiltered essence of who they are, emerges when two things happen. They're in control, or they think you're beneath them. Most people don't recognize how little honesty exists in everyday interactions. It's not because everyone is malicious. It's because most people are afraid of judgment, rejection, consequence, or simply the discomfort of being real. So they operate in a mode of self-preservation, manipulation, or convenience. They will mirror your energy when they want something. They will flatter when they're weak. They will downplay your value when they're insecure. But none of it is the truth of their character. That truth is hidden beneath ego, shame, and strategy. Carl Jung said that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That applies not only to your own psychology, but to how you see others. If you don't learn how to pierce through someone's public mask, you will project your own hopes, wounds, or fantasies onto them. You'll imagine loyalty where there is opportunism. You'll confuse politeness with integrity. You'll mistake status for character. This is how people end up betrayed, manipulated, or broken, because they didn't see who they were really dealing with. To understand someone's character, observe them in two key situations. First, when they have power over someone they do not need. Second, when they have nothing to gain from you anymore. These two conditions, power and pointlessness, strip away performance. In the first, we see how a person handles advantage. In the second, we see if they had any heart. It's in how they speak to the waiter, the janitor, the child, the disabled man, the immigrant, the unemployed. Do they still show kindness, or do they assert superiority? That's the test. Kindness to those you don't need reveals humility. Cruelty toward those who can't fight back reveals a dark soul. Most people know how to act good. Fewer know how to be good when it costs them nothing or gives them everything. A woman can play nice until the wedding ring is on. A man can treat his boss with respect but belittle the receptionist. A friend can be loyal while struggling but cold and arrogant when they've succeeded. A person's true moral compass is not revealed when they're desperate. It's revealed when they're dominant. When someone has the power to help or harm you and they choose to harm, they are showing you their inner nature. When they no longer need your presence and they still treat you with honor, that's rare goodness. Jungian psychology teaches us that the ego is designed to maintain an image, but the shadow holds the suppressed traits, the resentment, envy, entitlement, superiority, and sadism. Most people never confront their shadow, so when they gain power or see you as irrelevant, the shadow leaks out. That's why someone you loved can suddenly become indifferent. That's why a leader you admired can turn tyrannical. The ego mask falls when the reward system changes, and when it falls, it shows you everything you didn't want to believe. It is especially important to observe how people behave in small moments, not just in grand gestures or during crises, but in how they treat the overlooked. How do they speak to animals? Do they have empathy for strangers? Do they laugh at the misfortune of others? Do they gossip cruelly when they think no one's listening? That's where their character leaks out. You don't need long speeches. Just watch the small, unguarded moments. Some of the most dangerous people are those who appear charming, articulate, and socially skilled, but treat others as disposable. They know how to impress. They know how to mirror emotions. But when someone has no more use to them, they discard them like trash. This is why you must observe how people exit relationships, not just how they enter them. Do they ghost without explanation? Do they smear reputations to save face? Do they blame the other person to avoid accountability? Or do they exit with grace, honesty, and closure? True character is not about being perfect. It's about integrity when no one is watching. It's how someone behaves when the spotlight is off, when there is no reward, when they think they won't be caught. Do they steal small things? Do they lie over meaningless details? Do they help only when it's visible or also in secret? Integrity is consistency between public words and private choices. Most people fail this test, not because they're evil, but because they've never trained their soul. Your job is not to judge everyone, but to discern what someone is. Discernment is the highest form of wisdom. It is not suspicion, it is clarity. When you learn to read behavior, you stop being surprised by betrayal. You stop romanticizing potential. You stop interpreting hope as proof. You begin to see what people do, not just what they say. And that shift will save you years of pain. When a person gains power over a child, a pet, a position, a romantic partner, you must observe how they carry that power. Do they become abusive? Do they become controlling? Or do they use that power with compassion and restraint? The more someone needs to prove their authority, the less secure they are internally. Real strength is quiet. It doesn't need to dominate. It doesn't need to humiliate. It protects. And this is how you know the difference between a true leader and a manipulative tyrant. Likewise, when a person sees no more value in you, when you've stopped giving, stopped submitting, stopped benefiting them, how do they treat you then? That's when their illusion breaks. If they discard you, insult you, or erase the memory of what you gave, they never valued you. They only valued what they could extract from you. This is the hardest pill to swallow, especially in romantic relationships and friendships. But it's better to see it clearly than to cling to a lie. We tend to see people through our own emotional filters. If you're loyal, you assume others are. If you're generous, you assume others are. This projection blinds you, because you end up trusting those who know how to mimic your traits, but don't actually possess them. They mirror you to gain access. And once they've fed off your light, they vanish or turn hostile. Why? Because you were never dealing with them. You were dealing with a performance. Carl Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming your full self, requires you to confront your projections. You must stop assuming people are what you want them to be. You must see them for what they are, based on their patterns, not your fantasies. Every time you ignore someone's consistent disrespect, you are betraying your own soul. Every time you excuse cruelty because you're afraid of being alone, you are abandoning yourself. This is why spiritual growth requires discernment. Love without discernment is self-destruction. Empathy without discernment is enabling. Forgiveness without boundaries is masochism. You must learn to see character before you invest. You must learn to walk away from people who treat you well only when they need you. You must stop clinging to relationships that reveal ugliness the moment you set a boundary. There is something deeply revealing about how a person treats you after you say no. Do they punish you? Do they withdraw affection? Do they guilt trip or manipulate? Or do they respect your autonomy? Anyone can be sweet when you agree with them. True character is shown when you disagree, and in that disagreement you will see their shadow or their soul. Every narcissist begins with charm, not rage, not control, not cruelty. They begin with charisma, attention, and customized affection. They show you what you need to see to let your guard down, and once you become dependent on their approval, they begin the extraction. But the mask always slips when they feel dominant or when you stop complying. That is when their core psychology is revealed, not through words, but through reactions. One of the most overlooked indicators of character is how someone talks about others who are no longer useful to them. If someone trashes their ex without reflection, if they destroy their former friends' names after a falling out, if they lie or exaggerate to make themselves look innocent, they are not good people. They are preservationists, not honest beings. The pattern you see in how they leave others is a mirror of how they will one day leave you. This is why observation is a higher form of safety than trust. The problem is that society often rewards personas more than principles. The person who flatters the crowd and says the right things is elevated, while the person who silently shows up for others is ignored. This inversion of value conditions people to perform virtue instead of embodying it. They do good only when cameras are rolling, only when applause is possible. But true character doesn't seek recognition. It seeks alignment with conscience. And in a world addicted to validation, conscience becomes a rare compass. Another revealing moment is how people handle other people's success. When someone close to them wins, do they celebrate or grow silent? Do they uplift or secretly compete? Envy is a window into deep insecurity. A healthy soul rejoices in the elevation of others. But a wounded ego sees someone else's light as a threat. If you want to understand someone's inner world, watch their face, not their words, when you succeed. The smile that doesn't reach their eyes tells you everything. Similarly, you must observe how people respond to your pain. Not just in obvious tragedies, but in quiet suffering. Do they notice your withdrawal? Do they reach out when there's nothing in it for them? Do they offer presence without solutions, or do they disappear when you're no longer entertaining? Some people only stick around for the version of you that makes them feel good. When you're no longer convenient, they vanish. These are not your people. They never were. They were tourists in your life, not residents. Character is also tested in moments of temptation. When someone can lie and get away with it, do they? When someone can cheat without consequence, will they? When someone can exploit another's weakness for profit or pleasure, do they take the bait? The true measure of a person is what they choose when there are no eyes watching. Self-restraint is the mark of real integrity. It is the quiet power of choosing truth over ease, of choosing honor over gain. Carl Jung emphasized the concept of the persona, the social face an individual presents to the world. It is not a lie per se, but it is a mask shaped by expectation, adaptation, and fear. The danger arises when people become so attached to their persona that they believe it's their true self. In such cases, they not only deceive others, but also themselves. They rationalize cruelty. They justify betrayal. They suppress guilt. And when the consequences catch up, they blame everyone but themselves. There is a spiritual weight to every decision we make when we believe no one will find out. It is in those moments, the ones we think are small, forgettable, private, that our character is sculpted. Every time you choose not to lie, even though it would be easier, your soul grows. Every time you show mercy when you could take revenge, your spirit strengthens. Every time you treat the powerless with dignity, you align with truth. These are the unseen choices that build a life worth respecting. One of the most profound indicators of character is how people handle responsibility. Do they admit their mistakes, or do they shift blame? Do they take ownership or make excuses? Maturity is measured not by how people speak when things are easy, but how they respond when they've failed. Responsibility is a sacred test of the ego. The person who owns their wrongs is far more trustworthy than the one who always looks perfect but hides their trail of destruction behind clever words. You also must pay attention to consistency. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can be generous once. But consistency reveals patterns, and patterns reveal identity. If someone is only kind when they want something, that's manipulation. If someone is only loyal when you're useful, that's convenience. Character is the ability to sustain goodness, even when the emotional weather changes, even when life becomes hard, even when they're not in the mood.